Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Everyday How2s. Today is November 16th, 2023. Just getting back on here for a few minutes just to show you all again what I'm doing on the charts. Um, Still trying to get a little bit of a better understanding of these trading charts and kind of positioning myself hopefully for some success in the near future. But again, just putting myself to the test with just fundamental things like, you know, charting your levels appropriately. Like you can see how I have here some major zones here in the purple, some minor zones. Take off the kill zones here just for clarity. Um, so I'm not trying to make it look too crazy. I don't want to do all of that, but it's just because I've been charting things up and just trying to exercise what I'm learning. I think last time I talked a little bit about maybe touching on trend lines and trying to just show what I'm doing there. I'm trying to better understand trend lines and how to chart that up. And I thought it was just, I know maybe not everybody makes a big deal about it. Usually when I see people mark up their trend lines, they seem to do it just quickly. They'll just kind of be talking and you'll just kind of see them say like, yeah, yeah, my trend line's here. And like, yeah, I think, we got a good trend going and things like that. And I think that's cool. But I bumped into something where someone was breaking down a little bit more of an explanation on how to do trend lines right. And I didn't think that there was a exact science to it. So I should probably put the link here down below with the guy that was walking through it. He did a pretty good job just breaking it down. But um yeah, I'll probably just put that link in the bio below. So obviously we know that trends are supposed to be higher, either higher highs, lower higher highs, higher lows, or lower highs and lower lows. Like this one's kind of iffy because it's kind of hitting more of a resistance right here. So it hasn't become like a lower low yet. So we're going to kind of see what this does later on. I'm on the 1 hour chart right here. But what I've been doing up to this point, I've been mapping out like my major zones, like the purple box here. I've been mapping out like my major zones on the 1 hour, then going down to the 15-minute, mapping out a few minor zones here in the yellow. And then I would go down to the 5-minute where I actually trade. And, if I go down to the 5-minute and I see like a level that's more significant at the 5 level, I'll just kind of mark it up more for like if I get in the trade just to give me a feel of where I may want to put my TP and go from there. So that's what I've been kind of working on. So typically, again, like I said, I'll start here. And I kind of think I went through just putting these zones together, but kind of been playing around with the trend with the trends a little bit as well. Let me go down to up here that I'm not really trading with every day. Yeah, so yeah, we can take this one for like an example. I think what I was learning, like I said, I didn't think there was any major technicality to doing trend lines, but what I was learning was that you want to take your trend lines from the lowest point, or when you see like price start to shift, and you want to carry it along to where the next low is at that line. So from your first point to your second point, you want to make sure that you touch the wick. You want to make sure like you don't do something like this, right? Where the trend line didn't touch the wick at all of the second low here, right? So you have this low, this higher low, and then I think this was probably got a couple little ones in here, but I think I'll just kind of look at this low and this higher low up here. But what I kind of understood is that you want to start at the tip of the first low or high, and then you want to make sure you at least touch the wick, not the body, but at least the wick of your second low or your second high, right? And the idea is that we're not really crossing over into any of the body unless it's, unless we've already aligned all of our lows and it just happens to be there. But obviously, if you're doing this in real time, you'll probably do this at about, when price is probably like right here, right? So it's probably still developing, but you'll put that wick here. So you'll see kind of point right here. Can I draw on here? Okay, so this is one point. Point number 2. I guess you can make this point number 3. Right? So at this point in the trend, you kind of have 3 strong touch points right here. So you would want your and again, this is just my exercise. I'm not saying anybody has to do it like this, but I'm just trying to get it down to a little bit of a science. I don't want to make too much of a big deal about it. The way I've heard people talk about it, they just like, hey, it's not a big deal. But it seems like sometimes you can misinterpret a breakout based on how well you chart these things up. So I felt it was worth knowing. So I'll work on it. But you can see here that I'm at the first point. I make sure that I'm at least touching the wick of the second one. And then we want to be touching the wick of the, we want to be aiming for the wick of the third one, but we don't want to miss that second one. So we at least make sure we're touching that. We come right up against the body of these here. And then as much as possible, right? Because we want to still make sure that we're touching that wick on the second one, and then not going into the body of the candles on the remaining ones, or any of them really. So this is actually an actual trend line right here, because you have higher lows, 1, 2, 3 higher lows, and you have higher highs, right? 1, probably say 2, 3 here. And so that seems to be the deal with kind of what I picked up from the other day in doing this, right? Lower low, or first touch point, or first kind of shift in the price, right? You see this kind of strength here in the price go up, and then it starts creating this. So I'll probably start right here. Make sure we at least touch the second low, the wick on the second low, and then we come up to here. So this would be one trend. So the way I was looking at trend lines before, I felt like I had to, I felt like I would have to capture all of this to make it a trend line. Since all of this is still going up, I would just look at this as a trend line. I'd say, okay, this is a trend line, and I'll do something wacky like this, right? And call that a trend line, which technically it can be. But I feel like when you're in real time, and if you kind of had those, that's why when I saw that video and I kind of picked up on some of what that guy broke down, it made a little bit more sense to me. on why that's important. Like I said, I'm gonna put his stuff in the bio, but put that link in the bio. But this made sense to me. So this is telling me this is one trend right here. Like, to me, like with that understanding, to me, this is the trend right here. One trend right here. Then this is just pretty much consolidation right here. Right. So yeah, that's just consolidation. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this trend, consolidation here, right? You can see this is one top of the range here, top of the range here, or bottom of the range here, right? So this is a significant trend line. This is ranging. And then here, you could see where it breaks out with these strong momentum candles here and breaks out of this trend, or breaks out of this ranging price action here. And so before, I would have wrote this whole thing up as one thing. Now, this still is kind of trending, if you will, but I almost, because I don't see any real lows on here, I wouldn't call this a trend right here. Price has gone up, but I don't know if I would call it a trend because, I could be wrong here, but I don't know if I would call this a trend because of the lack of lows, right? You don't have any lows here, really. Price is just kind of slowing down, right? Now, I could be wrong with how I'm looking at that, but if I did try to put a trend here, it would be a separate trend. So I would start here. If I did try to put a trend here, it would be a separate trend. So I would start here. See, you don't even look right. Right? Because it's no real low. So I would look at this as price increasing, but probably not a trend. Because then it comes here, flops over, and does this kind of, I guess you could call this a head and shoulders type of setup here. So yeah, so that's one thing that kind of made a difference to me in marking up my charts. Same thing here. Before, I would have probably tried to just capture all of this as a downtrend. But now, with a little bit better understanding, see, this is lower lows here, lower highs here. So I think the way that I would mark this up would be probably from this guy here. I would say the tip of that. This is the main one. Yep. So yeah, it's probably hard to call this a trend per se, because I'm getting, and the other thing for the trend, right, is that you want at least two of them, right? So we have two highs, 1, 2, but we only have, so we have one high, another lower high, right? And then we have one low, but we don't quite get to the lower low till here. So this here begin to go into a ranging pattern in this little short blip here. So this, to me, from what I'm understanding, price dropped, but it never got into a trend. So it dropped, came here. So I would just say price dropped here, but I don't think it got into a trend. Then here it began to kind of getting into a range, if you will. Oops. Kind of getting into a range, if you will. And then it broke out of that range. So it came, price dropped, consolidated, dropped again, consolidated. Dropped a little bit, consolidated, and then it went into a trend. So I'll be honest, that's kind of how I see this right now. It kind of helped me because I feel like I was making this a little bit more complicated. So price dropped, but it never went into a trend, right? So drop, consolidate, or not consolidate, drop, range, drop, ranging, then, sorry about that, bouncing around here. All right, so price dropped, dropped, ranged, or went into a range mode, dropped, started ranging, and then it went into an uptrend, ranged, and then price increased again. Okay. So that's how I'm kind of starting to see the market now. Now this looks like it could be going and about to set a trend. So we got a lower highs, two lower highs here, or have lower highs, lower lows. So if this pops back up and drops again, then to me, that's the definition of a trend. I guess you could say this is a trend here too. Yeah, this is all the trend here. So first point, second point. So all that's touching. Your third major point here. And then kind of just skim these up here, but it's still moving. Could actually argue that this was actually the beginning of your trend here. Yep. Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to cover. And then I guess once you go down to like the 5 minute where I've been trading, let's see if that kind of makes sense when you look at the price. Because on the 5 minute, it's going to look a little different, right? So you can see where like price is really like the way we charted it out. and kind of tried to watch where those wicks were at. We kind of charted it out like bam, perfect, bam, bounced off of there, pretty much bounced off of that line. You could just kind of see where even on the 5 minute, it makes sense. It kind of respected it, bam, bounce off to there. Bam, bounced off of there, bam. And then you could see it, it's kind of respecting it the whole way through, right? So that's really the practice I want to be involved in, because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything and misinterpreting because I just didn't chart it out right. So may not be a big deal for some, but I like those little nuances. So I appreciated getting that. So anyway, I think I'm gonna roll with that and kind of let that be it for tonight. So I'll catch y'all later on the next one. Again, this is Everyday How-Tos, November 16th, 2023. And that's all I got for tonight. All right, y'all take it easy.